Where did you come up with the idea?
I wanted to make something simple, but I guess I was really intrigued by the idea of how easily we can affect somebody else's life and not really realize it. And I think that's something that we don't always remember, that how easy it is to reach out to somebody if we make the effort. So that idea was kind of the kernel behind the story. When I thought of the situation, the dynamic between a therapist and a suicidal patient, that all sort of came together. And then the idea of the therapist having gone through the same things himself, really, that kind of brought the whole narrative together for me.
Does this relate to any of your current life events?
No, thankfully not. It's not autobiographical in any way. It's all just something I invented. My wife is alive and well, thankfully. She's at home with our 3 kids. She was actually 6 months pregnant with twins when we filmed this. So she's an executive producer on the film. She was out scouting cemetery locations and dragging our toddler to casting calls and email correspondences and doing all kinds of stuff.
Now, how long did it take you to film your short?
We shot it over 3 days, over 2 weekends. Of course, the pre-production was several months before that, and then the post-production took probably 6 months by the time we got it fully edited. But it was 3 full shooting days of 12 or 13 hours per day.
Did you have it storyboarded out, or did you just know in your head the scenes you wanted, or was it all in script?
It was definitely the script was pretty detailed, so I wrote it and I produced it. Another gentleman by the name of Ade Akasanya was the director. He and the cinematographer storyboarded it, and we actually replaced the original cinematographer 3 days before we started shooting. So they got together, with the weekend approaching, the shooting day approaching, and storyboarded it all out. Stayed up really late and worked it all out. But yeah, the director and the cinematographer storyboarded it all.
Something that struck me in this film were the inserts. The inserts of the little looking at the leaf, looking at the drops of rain. That's not necessary to tell a story, but it can enhance it. And I felt that it enhanced this story.
Well, thanks.
And it worked with the pacing. Who was in charge of that?
I wish I could take credit for all that stuff, but that was really the director primarily and the cinematographer. They brought a lot of symbolic things and a lot of imagery things that I did not have in the script. The symbolism of the water and how water can be harmful or it can be helpful. So you see that kind of duality. The cinematographer had a lot of things where he was shooting through things, especially toward the beginning. So he brought a lot of that hadn't occurred to me. So I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't.
Any other kind of happy accidents that happened during the making of this movie?
Well, the location where we shot the trees was, I was looking for months for a place that we could shoot and not be next to a highway or something like that. And I went around all the forest preserves in the Chicago area, couldn't find anything. And I was talking to my dad one day. He said, "Well, what about the street right next to where I live?" And I wish he would have told me that 2 months ago. There was basically a subdivision that they had planned out and paved, but never built any houses on. So there was plenty of room for us to shoot, and there was actually a fallen tree right next to the road that we were able to shoot next to. So we lucked out, because otherwise I don't know where we would have shot that.
What was your biggest challenge?
I guess the biggest challenge was almost getting shut down by the police. They came. Somebody had called the police when we were shooting actually the film by the roadside, and so we had to kind of talk our way out of getting shut down. And filming in a cemetery, we sort of had permission and sort of didn't. So we had to be ready to get out of there at a moment's notice.
Any tips for future filmmakers?
I guess it was more project management than I would have thought. I guess, again, I wasn't the director, but as producer, it's not that any particular thing was hard, but it was just staying on top of all the details and getting it to come together. So really, it's don't be daunted, I think, by the details. As long as you can stay on top of everything and manage it, it's very achievable.
And how long would you say start to finish it took you?
I wrote the script probably over the course of the year, but that's partly because I'm lazy and also because I have a regular job. But it was probably almost a full 12 months from when basically when we started pre-production to completed the editing and post-production.
Great. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
sharing your
Thank you
film
very
with
much.
us. We enjoyed having you here.
Thank you.
And do you have any other future projects in the works?
No, the project one is getting the twins out of diapers. Probably that's the next thing. But I've got a few feature-length scripts that I've written, and a few other treatments, and a couple of a sitcom pilot written, but no actual productions of the work yet. So if anybody has millions of dollars they want to throw at me, I'm ready.
You're
to go.
available.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks again for
Thank you.
sharing your film. Thank you.